done? Is this
This
number 8?
this is 9. This
This
is
is
session
9.
9. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Hard to believe that we've gotten through 9, and you guys are still showing up to watch us, those that are on. So thank you so much for that. Hopefully that the content that you've been delivered this year has been good. And we were just talking before the meeting started about doing this again next year. And Debbie will come up with some more amazing content. So today we are going to talk about a failure to plan is a plan to fail. And what I like about this webinar coming into the end of the year is that Debbie's taking a turn. And what I like about this, Debbie, is that you're moving a little away from the marketing thing and really just kind of bringing over an idea of how this applies to everything in your business. She's going to talk about, folks, how to get what you want versus take what you get, what types of analysis should be completed before creating a plan of action, the key components of a plan of action, and how to use some simple templates to create a roadmap to success. For me personally, Debbie, taking action is where it all lands. Sometimes, even if you're taking the wrong action, at least you're taking action. What in your business has really worked for you with this kind of philosophy?
Well, creating the plan and then, actionizing that plan, it's easy to say, oh, we're going to do this year. But when you actually have to put the meat on the bone and then, do everything that it takes to actually put that into action. And I just read a really interesting statistic. 90% of people don't actually put their plan into action. I was kind of shocked at that. So that's rather disappointing, but so it just really reinforces how important it is to, once you've got what you need to, your roadmap on the sheet of paper, it's now engaging the whole team and putting and implementing that plan to its fullest. So we're going to talk about some key components of that go into building the plan, and I've got some great templates that you'll be able to use for that. And one of those was the mystery shop. In fact, we just did, talk about actionizing something. We had to do a price increase, and I've been resisting doing the price increase for as long as I possibly could. But I did a mystery shop, and we've got a very thorough analysis of 14 of our top competitors in our area. And what I realized was there was some room in terms of where we were versus our competitors. And so when I was able to share that with the team, I was able to, help them understand, look, this is not going to be as detrimental as, you might be worried about. But it gave me the confidence having that information and that plan, working forward with the plan and understanding why this makes sense. At the end of the day, we were much lower than many of our competitors, and so there was some room to increase that. So that's just one small example of how doing the work, the upfront work, is going to help you, give you the confidence and help you determine what are your next steps.
I think that's a fantastic way to look at it. I think JP Morgan said the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you're not going to stay where you are, right? And if you're going to take action, you want to plan to take it. But in the end, it's actually taking the first step, is
Right.
moving forward, making that first phone call, getting out and going to your first, long-term care facility and trying to find this, just all the things you've been teaching us all year. They're
Yes.
great, but if you don't actually get out and do them,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to get
Or
anywhere where you want to get.
right, if you determine, hey, I need to expand my reach in my marketplace and start to see more referral sources, then, the plan to hire somebody and actually go ahead and do it is going to help you achieve that ultimate goal, which is to expand that reach. So just as another example, I'm going to give you some very specific strategies and things that based on my experience, I'm going to throw in some anecdotes from my own business as we work through some of these templates. So I think it'll hopefully get your mind thinking and your wheels turning.
Fantastic. But before we get started, I believe we have a poll question coming up. So the first question I ask, and this is an important one, who on this call has created their 2025 strategic plan of action? Have you done a plan in place? We've got 3 weeks left in the month. And I know that for me, we've been in next year since last month, right? For our company. In the software world, the year is over in our world, and we've already planning for 2025. And as a matter of fact, if we wait till January 1st, we're already behind in 2025. That's the way we think about it. So this is a great question. So who's created a strategic plan of action? I'm going to launch that poll question and let's see what kind of answers we get. Very relevant call, Debbie. Looks like we have quite a few folks that haven't. We have some folks that have. And this is really great information. So I think from here, I'm going to end the poll. We've had everybody answer. And I think, Debbie, we're ready to get you started.
Awesome. So I don't know if people can see the answers, but 76% of people on the call don't have the strategic plan. So I think this is going to be really beneficial for you. And, I wanted to share some of the stats. I told you about that one specific stat in relation to actionizing your plan, but let's look at how many people actually have plans. 33% of small businesses actually have a formal business plan. So
Wow.
very, very few, which is kind of very, it supports the poll numbers that we just did, really. Businesses with business plans grow 85% faster than those without a plan. 71% of fast growing companies do have business plans. And approximately 70% of businesses that survive for 5 years actually follow a strategic business plan. So at the end of the day, the stats tell us that business plan finishers are twice as likely to succeed in business than those owners who do not have a plan. So I think those of you that have made the decision to attend this webinar, great first start, right? So let's get started. I really challenge you to not to take what you get this year, all right, but to get what you want. All right, there's a big difference. And I've seen, and Dylan, my partner in 52 weeks, sees it every single day where people are just taking what they get. And because they didn't have a plan, because they didn't have a marketer, they didn't have a marketing system, etc. And so we really want to change that. And that's something that we've been working on throughout all of these marketing moment seminars. But with this one, we're really going to help you to determine what it is you want for 2024, 2025. So what is it? Have you determined what it is you want? And it's not one of these name it and claim it kind of things. It doesn't work that way. But you do need to name it, determine what it is you want, and then develop the plan to achieve it. All right. So it starts with that plan, but really the initial point is really understanding where do you want to go? Where are you now? Where you want to go? And we're going to really lay that all out for you in a nice little roadmap that you can create that. So everything that I'm going to be sharing with you today, by the way, is something that I do within my organization. I use these templates. We are well underway with our plan. We've already completed a lot of the analysis, and these are the analysis that I think is your first step to developing your plan. So you need to do a competitive analysis, right? What is your competitors doing out there? You'll be able to compare yourself to them based on the learnings. Then you want to do a SWOT analysis. And I'm going to go into more details for each one of these in just a minute, but we just wanted to kind of lay out the process for you. So these are two key analysis that will really help you develop your plan. And when I say plan, I say this is your plan of action. This is your roadmap for the year. And with that plan of action, you'll be able to create your financial objectives, your pro forma. And I'll touch on that as well. So if these are foreign terms for you, you're going to have a much better understanding as we go through this seminar. All right. So I do want to express how important it is to involve your team as much as possible throughout this whole process. And Julie and I were talking about that. I love the term, you get buy-in from your team when they actually are involved in the whole process. So what we like to do is get everybody to participate and have everyone give an opportunity to share their perspective from their different roles. What do they see as opportunities? What do they see as issues or challenges that we're going to eventually have to address to achieve our goals? So collaborating on the goals, getting everybody together, and what you develop there is true advocacy. They take ownership for the end result, which is the plan. that they're going to help implement. All right. So it really is a great process to get as many, particularly your key people involved, your marketers, your business develop, anybody involved in business development, anybody that's interfacing with your customers. Have at least one or two people from your operations and scheduling team, etc. Then once you have your plan, it's very important to get the whole team together and present the plan. All right. Every single one of your administrative staff should attend that meeting because ultimately everyone plays a critical role in you achieving that plan, right? So when they see how important they are and where their role fits in to you accomplishing these goals, that's going to help them feel important. It's going to elevate their interest, and definitely they're going to advocate for your success. So presenting the why and the how, and then showing them that they're the who's going to participate in what piece of accomplishing what part of the plan. So let's start with the competitive analysis. And again, this should be your first step in your whole process. And what this is going to do is help you better understand what your competition's up to, and then how do you compare? How are you faring in the community, in this competitive landscape? So as a home care provider, you can implement various methods to gather these competitive insights. And so we're going to take you through some of those things. So the first one is a mystery shop. And this is something that I love. It's really, really effective. It does take time because you're going to be calling and you're basically going to conduct, basically somebody is going to be posing as a potential client so that you can see what the client experience is when they're engaging with your competitors. All right. Now, in my case, I don't have a lot of time, so I actually had an employee do this for me. He's sort of like a project manager type of role who I can throw a big project like this at him. And he went and basically called every single one of the companies on the list. And he acted as though he was a potential son looking for care for his family. And he got so many insights. So create a template that the person that's doing the mystery shop will utilize so that they can be consistent, gathering consistently the same information as they approach each one of your competitors. So you'll want to know everything from their price, how they choose their caregivers, all of the things that, do they have any special services? All of those things they'll be taking note of so that you, again, will be able to compare your services and your personal, your customer experience with their customer experience. And these are going to be some great insights that you'll be able to add to your SWOT analysis, which we're going to get to in a minute. All right, online research. So check out their websites. How are they positioning their services? Are they differentiating them in any way that from the way you're positioning yourself? What are they doing social media wise? What are they doing in the community when we get to network and industry events? So how do they present themselves? What do they highlight as their key differentiation? And so you'll be making notes of all of those types of things. Do they have any partnerships and alliances, right? So many of your partners may interface with some of your competition. So get their perspective, not in a negative way, but take it from the perspective of, hey, I just want to really learn and understand how we're doing compared to our competitors. And people are very open when you position it that way, that it's for your own learning and for your own edification so that you can become the best you can be. Everyone will want to help you as long as you don't approach it as, hey, saying, hey, I hear they're doing such and such and then they're doing a terrible job at this. What are your thoughts? No, say, hey, what do you like about them? How do I compare in that area? Those kinds of questions. So just a very professional approach to it. You're analyzing job postings, right? So how are you paying your caregivers versus your clients? How are you recruiting versus your competitors, rather? And so there is a lot to learn from your competitors' job ads that you'll be able to use to be a competitive recruiter. That is a big part of our organization, right? Is recruiting our caregivers and satisfying our and being able to fulfill those client needs. So those are some things, trade associations, all of those things that you see here. But let's focus on the mystery shop because this is my favorite, and I think I'm going to focus on the two key ones, which is the mystery shop and the SWOT analysis. These are things that we can all do really, really easily. Okay, so what we do is we always start our year with this. Sometimes we do it a couple times a year if we're considering doing a price increase. We'll maybe just do another spot check on pricing at some other time in the year. But we're going to this is what this is going to do is help you understand how they're differentiating, how they're pricing themselves, how they're positioning themselves, any special services, anything they highlight. Like, for example, I learned one of my competitor highlights that they do an 8-hour caregiver training. I didn't know they did this. Well, as I dug a little bit deeper, I determined that's just their basic caregiver orientation. They're not actually doing any specific skills training. And so now understanding that when we are talking to our client, we specifically go through the skills training that we offer, which is different from anybody else in my area. We actually have a skills lab. So we're highlighting that so that then if they happen to talk to that competitor, they're going to say, oh, well, do you have a skills lab? And when the answer is no, bam, I've differentiated myself. I've positioned myself at a higher level than that competitor. You'll want to get a better understanding of the client experience. One of the folks that my employee experienced, or one of the calls that he made, the care manager was in the car picking up her child, and the child was screaming from the back seat through the whole conversation. So what does that say to a caller? Wow, they're a small Mickey Mouse organization, and they can't, if they're acting this way to a potential client, how do they conduct the rest of their business? It seemed a little bit unprofessional, right? So that was a really important learning, and that should be an important learning for all of us, right? When we get that inquiry call, we've got to dedicate and be very focused and give them the attention that they need to get that assessment scheduled. We did a whole one of our whole sessions was on taking those inquiry calls and getting them to assessments. So ultimately, all of this information is going to help you fill in some of the strengths and the weaknesses on our SWOT analysis. But at the end of the day, you're going to start to see some strategies come to the forefront that you need to be focusing on throughout this process. So at the end of the day, you're going to really understand how you compare to your competition, what you need to focus on, where are some of the opportunities, and where are your strengths that you want to reinforce. All right, so let's get to the SWOT analysis. And the SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And this is an awesome technique that a lot of organizations, definitely larger corporations, use this. And I've done this for years and years. And what this does is it assesses 4 aspects of your business. Okay, so conducting the analysis is going to help you analyze what you're doing best and uncover areas where you may be holding yourself back. Okay, so some factors that are, as you uncover some of these things, there are things that are going to be within your control and some things that are going to be outside of your control. But at least you'll know what the risks are, and you'll have some contingency plans to mitigate some of those risks or react if your worst case scenario actually happened. Okay, so that's what this really helps you to be a little, like, really expand your thinking as you go into this process. All right, so let's take a closer look at the SWOT analysis, and it's broken into 4 quadrants. All right, so we have strengths, and strengths will help you to identify what advantages you have, particularly over your competition. You may have very well trained caregivers. You may have a very strong reputation for quality care. You may have a robust client referral program, efficient operational processes. So a lot of those kinds of things you're going to identify. So you're going to be, these are within your organization. Your weaknesses. So these are your internal things that you could improve. What factors could cause you to lose clients or revenue? What's getting in the way, say, of you being, hitting that revenue target? And I'm going to give you some examples of what might fit into that category. But ultimately, there are some things that you want to identify. If you've got a low, if your list is really tiny on the weakness, you need to go back and revisit this. Okay. These are things that you really want to identify. And again, getting the feedback from your team. What do they see as our weakness from a scheduler's perspective, from the marketer's perspective, from the recruiter's perspective? Okay. From the finance perspective. So get everybody to weigh in on what some of those weaknesses are so that you can build the plan to address them. And then we'll come back to opportunities, but then let's talk about threats. Some of the threats can be externally, and these are sometimes the things that we may not have a lot of control over. All right. So one of the threats I see right now is less and less people are able to afford care. Right. We've talked about that. Julio and I've talked about how much the prices have actually increased. And so that could be a little bit of a threat from the standpoint of people can't get the hours that we used to get. So growth is even harder than ever before. So, if you are a fully a Medicaid provider, what happens if the plug got pulled on that program? That could be a threat for you, right? So just to give you some of those ideas. What worries you? What keeps you up at night? Those kinds of things. And then finally, opportunity. So based on a lot of that, where do you see the opportunities? They should start to become apparent. Okay. So what trends could you take advantage of? How can you turn your strengths and strengths to opportunities? All right. So something as simple as highlighting the fact that we are the only competitor in our area that has a skills training lab for our caregivers. That should be on every single inquiry call. We should be covering that now that I've learned what I've learned. So that is definitely an opportunity to differentiate ourselves and get more assessments. So just to give you an idea. All right, so let's dig in, all right, and take a look at some of the templates that we've been able to provide to you. And those were emailed to you along with the reminder. And I don't know if you mentioned this, Julio, but in case you didn't get them, don't panic. Send us an email. You don't need to go we're looking for them now. Just send us a message in the chat or an email, and we will send those out to you. Okay. So for now, let's just follow along for the process. Okay. Because you're going to have these. So what we've given you is a template, and I've got the little questions to remind you of what you're trying to record here in these different sections. So when it comes to strengths, what do you do well? What unique resources can you draw on? What do you see as your strengths, weaknesses, etc.? So you'll be able to put that in and fill in all of those things. So these are the things that are going to help you analyze and be focused as you develop your plan, kind of like keeps all the other noise out. And this is going to really help you to develop that plan based on all of these, this information that you put into this template. Okay. And you're going to see strategies are going to become evident. They're going to jump off the page. And I'm going to walk you through some examples. Okay. So I thought it would be good for you to see. And these are some things that are actually over the years, these are things that we've dealt with, that we've actually filled in, not necessarily all in this year, but over the year, that things that just to help exemplify what we're trying to accomplish here. So again, fill out your strengths, weaknesses, and threats first, and then a lot of the opportunities are going to rise become more evident. So let's take a look at the strengths here. So what we identified here in, at some point in my business was that we had a very strong brand awareness due to our educational programs. A lot of people really recognize us for that. So that's a strength. It's a really key differentiator. This is true. Um, we had very strong relationships with our referral sources in the southern part of our territory, because over the years we've really when I started the business, we started in that area. We had very strong marketers in that area, and we had a little bit of turnover in with the marketers in our northern area. But all that to say, we have very strong referral sources in the southern part of my region. Our assessment to client conversion rates are very high. So when we get into the home, boom, we had a great opportunity to sign that client. And then we also learned that our long-term care business was growing significantly. So when we looked at our results from last year, we saw that our long-term care business, because we put a lot of emphasis on that. Okay. So those are some of our strengths. Weaknesses. We were canceling shifts, a lot of shifts due to call-offs. A lot of you, I'm sure, can relate to this. That's a problem. Then that's a weakness, right? Because it affects customer satisfaction, affects our ability to hit our revenue targets. We feel like we've got caregiver apathy. There's a lack of caregiver accountability or loyalty. And so they just will call off. That is a problem. We have relationships with community sources in our northern part of our territory were weaker. So we're concerned about that competition gets in the door. And then finally, our client attrition rate was high due to the caregiver inconsistencies. So again, our attrition was high. We're losing clients because they're not happy that our caregivers are calling off. So that's the beautiful thing about getting other people involved, right? They can see some of these things that you may not be aware of. All right, threats. We have a growing number of competitors in our southern territory. So where we were really strong, we got a lot of people. So they're starting to try to encroach on the influence centers that we have great relationships with. We have price is becoming a real barrier for seniors. So we're seeing lower hours and we're losing clients to assisted living facilities. And then our attrition rate could affect our reputation. So that is a threat. We don't want to be out there and people saying, "Oh yeah, well that's they do a terrible job." So that's obviously a threat. This is just giving you ideas. All right. So based on some of those things, what are some opportunities? Well, we should be really expanding on our long-term care business and other alternative payer sources, since pricing is an issue. Less people can afford it. So let's bolster that long-term care, try to find more policyholders who are more able to pay for care, and really focusing on our other payer sources. We want to expand our educational program that we've been really successful with in that northern part of our territory, so that we can to build our relationships with the folks that we maybe don't know as well. So let's use what was successful in the south and bring it to the north, and that could be a huge opportunity. And then let's dig deeper with our current referrers within the south to offer payer source training to drive more referrals. So give them more ammunition when they're dealing with patients that can't afford care. So that would equate to more referrals for us. Maybe they size somebody up and think, oh, they can't afford them. But if they know, no, hey, Debbie's team, they're going to uncover every stone and look at every payer source. I'm going to refer them to her, and at least she'll review that with them. So that could be a huge opportunity. All right. So now you start to see some strategies, right, that are coming to the forefront as we definitely list some of our opportunities there. All right. So that's a way to think about your SWOT analysis. I just wanted to give you some ideas on some of the things. So let's look at some of the strategies that maybe are starting to become evident. The first one is we got to be a caregiver behavioral problem, right? That is affecting our quality of service. That's causing us to lose some clients. So when we're thinking strategically, we've got to either get more caregivers and it becomes this number game, or we've got to figure out a way to enhance that those relationships with our caregivers and help them to become more loyal. We're doing well in the South with our educational programs, so we're going to, um, create some of the strategies are going to be around expanding our reach in that northern area. Okay, let's see. So again, some of these strategies are starting to jump off the page, and you're going to see me implement some of those in the plan of action here. All right, so let's talk about the plan of action. And there is such power in writing a plan, putting in black and white and outlining what it is that you want to accomplish and how you're going to do that. There's something about it, and it's something that you will, you get your team focused on it, and it versus doing not doing that, and just like taking what you get. It's just a really powerful thing. It sets your mind in motion. It aligns your team around a goal. It empowers them to take action. And everybody wants to be part of something great, right? And so that gives them a higher purpose when they see their role in executing this plan of action. So it's just an amazing thing. Also, it unites everyone around what your priorities are. It keeps everybody very focused and on task. Somebody might have a great idea, and you know what? Hey, does that meet our objectives of what we're trying to accomplish? And so again, it just keeps owner as well. Like, sometimes we'll get a call from this person or that person, great idea, and you're like, oh, that doesn't meet my objectives for this year, right? I mean, unless it's something riveting and it supports your plan. So I do always recommend taking calls from salespeople. I don't, this is a little aside, to see what is actually out there. What are people selling? What kind of new technology and things like that may help you enhance what you've put in your plan. All right. So, and then of course, once you've got your plan, having that all employee meeting and sharing it with everybody so that everybody's aligned. All right. So I do that every single year. We get all of our administrative staff. We make it it's pretty much a whole day event. And they all look forward to it every single year. So why a plan? Obviously, clarity of direction, which is something I just talked about, keeping everybody very focused on that roadmap to success. You see a lot of different things: focus, goal setting, improved decision making, and efficient resource allocation. All right. When you've got a plan and you in your plan say, when we get to this number of clients, then we're ready to bring on, say, another scheduler. Well, when you meet that objective, you're going to feel so much more confident actually making that decision. And it supports where you are in your pro forma. And so this is why this planning is so important, because you're going to have to make decisions, but it's going to give you that confidence because you've already had it in your plan and you've met the financial objectives to help to enable you to do that. So that's a really important one. Enhanced accountability from everybody on your team, mitigating risk. Again, if you see, wow, we're ready, we wanted to hire a new person by this point, but we're not there where we need to be sales wise, then you can't take that risk. But at least and then you could tell your staff, this is why we're not able to move forward with this. We haven't met our sales objective, etc. So really helps you to develop that roadmap and keeps everybody on track. Okay. So when you think about your goals, right, you want them to be SMART goals. What does that stand for? SMART: specific, the M is measurable, A is achievable, R is relevant, and T is time bound. Okay. So for example, instead of saying, well, I want to increase my revenue by $1 million. All right. That's very, very vague. What you want to say is, I want to increase my annual revenue by $1 million within the next 2 years. Okay. So it's got to be very, very specific. By this time next year, I want to be at X. All right. And so our next template is going to help you get very, very specific. So you might start with, you were at $2 million and I want to be at $3 million. Okay. So that becomes your overarching objective. So this is the schematic that I've used for a long time, probably way over 20 years. and I do this even when I'm having a meeting where we're trying to solve a problem. And I get to my whiteboard and I use the schematic and I say, okay, what are we trying to accomplish here? That becomes your goal. All right. So that it might be that we want to add on $2 million within the next 2 years. But it's very, very important to determine where it is you are. All right. So that's the second piece that you're going to fill in this schematic. All right. So where are you now? Where are you revenue wise? How many clients do you have? How many hours are you registering? How many referrals are you? What are your key performance indicators? Summarize them here. Bullet points, really easy. Just basically all those key performance indicators, you want to bullet them. Your profit, your caregivers, your staff, your number of staff. What's your reputation like? A lot of the things that you summarized in your analysis. Then what's important is stating where it is you want to be. So basically for every bullet, you want to summarize where you want to be in that time frame. If it's a 1-year time frame or a 2-year time frame, you're going to stipulate that. All right, so where do you want to be revenue? How many clients do you want to have? How many hours do you want to be billing every billing period, etc.? How many referrals to get to that revenue? How many referrals are you going to need? Right? There's some math involved here, and etc. So all of those key bullet points that you put in number 2, you've got to then have your objective for filled in for number 3, where you want to be for all of those key performance indicators in that time frame. Then what we're going to do is fill out what actually has to happen in order from you to get to where you are now and where you want to be. So to get from 2 to 3, what are those key strategic imperatives? What are the things that are non-negotiable goals or priorities that have to happen in order for you to achieve this goal? All right. Those are your strategic imperatives. And I'm going to give you examples of those in just a second. And then with those strategic imperatives, you're going to have supporting strategies that are going to allow you to accomplish those important things that have to happen. All right. So your strategies might be, you're expanding your reach as an example. All right. So you're going to have several strategies that support that one strategic imperative. Okay. And you'll fill all those in. And then come the tactics. And these are the specific actionable, as Julio and I were talking about, initiatives or activities that you are going to undertake, whether it's day-to-day or short-term things that you're going to do to achieve those particular strategies. All right. And so these might be your specifics of your marketing plan to expand your reach, as an example. All right. So those are those specific tactical, actionable things, tasks that you're going to need to do to support all of those other key components. All right. So let's put all of that together and look at how you would approach this with a real life perspective here. Okay. So plan of action. So where are we now? We're at, say, $2 million. We have 65 clients. We have a bi-weekly billing period of $75,000. Our attrition rate is 18%. Problem, that is high, right? Why is that? I can see because our caregivers are 1.2 to 1 caregiver or 1 client, 1.2 to 1 client. So those are some of those key performance indicators that I was talking about before that you want to identify. All right. And then what you actually want them to be, and then all the strategic imperatives to help you get there. Right now, we've got 65 clients and 1 scheduler. Well, here's where we want to go. All right. So within 2 years, we want to be at $4 million. That looks like 130 clients. We're going to be billing at 160,000 a billing period. And we got to get that attrition rate down to 10%. We need to increase our caregiver ratio to 2 to 1. All right. We're going to have to add on another scheduler and maybe a client services manager. Right. So these are the things that we know where we want to be. How are we going to get there? All right. So what are the strategic imperatives? The first one is, and I'm only giving you an example of one strategy and one tactic, but you would have several strategies. But here are my 4 key strategic imperatives, the things that have to happen in order for me to go from 2 million to 4 million. All right. So the first step is I've got to expand my reach. I've got to get more referrals. Okay. The next one is I need to retain those clients. I cannot accept an 18% attrition rate. I've got to get it down. The next one is I want to increase my caregiver pool because these call offs are killing me. And my ratio is not good. So I don't have people to replace when a caregiver calls off. And then finally, I've got to expand my operational infrastructure to support this kind of growth. So with those key strategic imperatives in mind, let's look at least one strategy and one tactic for each. Okay. So on expanding reach, one of my key strategies is to build referral partners. Remember I said in the North, we were weak. Imagine that says build referral partners in the North. Okay. So then what is a tactic? I'm going to hire a dedicated marketer for that specific area. All right. It's the only way I'm going to be able to build those relationships and get those referrals funneling to me. And you'll see, some of the other things that came to mind in terms of opportunities are some of those educational programs. You really got to have a community person feet on the streets to be able to implement some of those. So that was a key strategy and one of the key tactics. When it comes to retaining clients, a strategy here is improve customer service. Well, that's pretty broad. So tactically, how are you going to do that? Well, you may implement a promises system where you are calling your client after every new start. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. So in our particular case, we've had what we call the 6 promises, and that we call our client after the first 3 visits and then on a monthly basis. So these are the 6 promises that we make to help us stay on top of client satisfaction. Okay. Just as an idea. Increase our caregiver pool. All right. So our strategy is increase our caregiver to client ratio. Easier said than done. How are we going to do that? How are we going to accomplish that strategy? Well, we're going to increase the number of orientation classes per week. Instead of going 1 a week, you might have to go 3. In our case, we do an orientation and training class every single day of the week. We need to be hiring so many caregivers, and we've struggled on the loyalty, and it's like I don't even know if that's actually possible. So we play the numbers game, and we just keep hiring. And so we're at a position where we have an orientation every single day of the week in my organization. So that's just a tactic that's helping us support that strategy, which is to increase our caregiver to client ratio. Expand operational infrastructure is our key imperative. So what is our strategy there? We've got to build out the scheduling and client services department. So specifically, we're going to hire our second scheduler, and we're going to hire a client services manager. All right. So tactically, that's what that's going to look like. All right. So does that help, Julio, kind of explain how to approach this and just giving you some ideas to think about, what are some of the things that we want to fill in those key areas?
I think the ability to give details about the areas that you want to cover and how to build those out is extremely important, because a lot of us, you and I have been in the corporate world and we've done stuff like this for a long time, but a lot of the folks on this call, this might be the first time they've heard this. And
Right. And
and
you
I know
might
that.
want to, yeah. And I think on the template, I think I'm going to have a sample here. I give a little explanation of each of these things. What's the strategic imperative, strategy, and tactic? Worst comes to worst, Google it. Because there's often a lot of confusion about what's the difference between a strategy and a tactic, right? So it's important to understand that as you move forward. So from here, from your plan of action, this is where you're going to now begin to formulate your financial objectives, all your financials, your pro forma. So what's a pro forma? This is your projections or forecast for the year. We do this every single year, and it helps us also do our expenses based on our plan and our profits. We have our pricing in there, all of those things. So this acts also as your what if. right? So what if we haven't achieved this? Well, then something's got to give here,
Mhm.
right? So it holds everybody accountable, keeps you on track, but also it helps you if you're not living up to the assumptions that came from your plan, then has to be adjusted. All right. And you should be looking at this at least quarterly. All right. And this is going to help you with your your planning and goal setting, the decision making, when you're having to layer on, from our plan, we were going to layer on another scheduler. Well, again, you've got to be looking at, did we, by this point, before we did that, we determined we have to be at this many clients. This pro forma can help you secure funding if that's something that you're interested in. Going to help you identify risk, and definitely it's going to help you track your progress and keep everybody on track. So when you have your team meeting, quarterly and let them know how you're doing against the objectives and the plan that they all helped to formulate. Okay. So yes, up here in the left-hand corner, this is one of the handouts. And I've got here a little explanation. So in the handouts, you've got this example, but then you also have your sort of template where you can just start from scratch. And I've given you a smaller one. And if you're a larger organization, you might have a larger one, and you just start filling it in. All right. And you'll soon have something that looked like the one that I showed you earlier today. All right. Now, putting things into action. So how do we get this done? So I gave you a little timeline here to hold yourself accountable so that you can get your plan in place as soon as possible. For the, I think, 75% of people that were on the call here that don't have this, here's a little roadmap to keep yourself accountable to. Okay. So complete your competitive analysis. Try to do that by the end of December. Have your SWOT completed by January 12th. Have your first plan of action ready to go, and then have your employee meeting, review and tweak anything. Have your final draft, and then your pro forma complete by the end of January so that you can begin implementing your plan by February 3rd. All right, so there you go. Take a picture of it, and you'll be able to get off this phone and start scheduling your meetings. Put it into your calendar. Hey, I identify somebody that can do your competitive analysis. Just give them a timeline to do it. Identify the competitors you want them to focus on, and fill out the template that you want them to follow. Okay, so all those key things that we talked about today. And get as many people as possible. You know what I would do? I would send the SWOT template to each department head and have them fill one out, and then that can roll into your larger SWOT analysis. Whew, that was a lot, Julio.
That was amazing. That was, and I tell you, when we were preparing for this call, that last slide you just showed where you gave them, or you're giving us the exact dates. I think that for accountability purposes, that's the best thing I've seen, right? Rather than having people can come off this calls, well, I've got to figure out my dates. What do I do? There they are right there. Get started right now today. Fill these things out, and today and by December 31st, you're doing your analysis, and you're rocking and rolling by January. I really, really, really like this slide. The fact that you put it in here was really, really cool. I hope everyone enjoyed this. This has been, for me, fantastically informative. I'd like to open up our poll question here. And the poll question here is very simple. If you want to learn more about Debbie and the polls that the services that 52 Week Marketing provide and help your agency, please answer the poll. So let me watch this one. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, so we talked about, in one of my examples, I said we need to hire a new marketer for a particular area to expand our reach. If you're struggling with that, do I hire a marketer? Is now the time? We have a whole program to help you determine if that is the case for you, if this is something that you should do, and then how to hire somebody. Dylan does an incredible job of helping folks recruit. And then you've got, with our turnkey system, you're hiring somebody into a system. So even for those that have had bad experience with a marketer because you didn't have a system to hold them accountable to and to to help them with the execution. Like, who am I calling on? What do I say? We've got a total turnkey system. And then right down to we can actually help you hire that marketer. Job ads. I mean, he does interviews. He's got he's got a great success rate with our current clients, who he has helped. Some may be actually on the call. I'm not sure. Yeah, so we can help you do that. So if you said yes, we will reach out to you at some point here in the near future and get you scheduled, or you can schedule with the QR code here in just a minute.
Thank you, Debbie. Folks, I've been involved with Debbie and Dylan now for almost 3 years, since not too long after the inception of 52 Weeks Marketing, and the number of agencies that I personally know that have been deeply helped by this program and this software. And there is nothing else out there in the market. There really isn't anything out there that really delivers it to you in a way that you can get started. And then the final question, if you're interested in learning more information about CareTime, and when it comes to CareTime is a tool, right? We're a software that will help manage your agency from a scheduling, onboarding, implementation, care providing, billing, and reporting. And there's a lot of tools out there. We know that. But if you're interested in working with a tool and a company that really, really, really is invested in the success of your business, which is why we work with somebody like Debbie, please feel free to let us know you're interested in us, and we'd love to chat with you. No obligation. We just want to learn more about your business and give you the opportunity to tell us what problems or solutions you're looking for that maybe you're not getting today. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love the opportunity to get to know you. Thank you very much. And so on that note, Debbie, I think we can talk about what's coming next. Usually, folks, at this point in time, we tell you what the next event is going to be for Marketing Moments, but we haven't had that meeting yet. So we are going to prepare a whole new plan for next year.
We have a meeting to discuss it.
We have scheduled the meeting, but we haven't had the meeting yet. That is coming. But
We
for
should have
more
done a survey question that said, are you interested in moving forward in 2025 with more Marketing Moment seminars?
I think the answer from everyone would be yes on that, Debbie. I really
Yeah,
think that we can do that. But that was a good poll question.
yeah.
Folks, if you want to learn more about CareTime without us communicating, give us check us out at caretime.us.com. If you're interested in learning more about 52 Weeks Marketing, you can contact Dylan Schwartz at 629-256-6829, or at their website, or at his email at Dylan at 52weeksmarketingllc.com, or you can use the fancy QR code that my marketing partner is still teaching me how to use because I'm old. But on that note, thank you so much for joining this call. Debbie and I are very happy that you're here. And Debbie, as always, I got through the call. I didn't use several words that I use on every call, but it was a fantastic, fantastic webinar. And thank you for doing this with me again. I cannot wait for next year.
Thank you, Julio, and to all your team who've done a great job of organizing all of this for us. Rachel, I think, maybe still on the phone. So
Yes,
thank you so
Rachel and
much.
Casey have been involved. We should thank Dylan. Poor guy. We always talk about Dylan, but he hasn't been on these webinars with us. Maybe we can get him to get one-on-one.
He's here. He's
He's
here.
here. Okay,
Yeah, we
perfect.
haven't had him speak. Yeah, maybe next time. Might be
Always
a
in the
good.
background.
Yes. But maybe we do something around marketing coaching. That might be a good one to focus on. We'll add that to our list for next year. Dylan, you have some great examples. I would love to do a what not to do.
Absolutely.
That might be fun.
That's
But anyway,
that's a great idea. That's a really
it
good
is.
idea, Debbie. I like
The
that.
things, yeah, the 10 things not to do or something like that. But while we have you all on the call, I wish you all the very best for this holiday season, and wish you the absolute best for 2025. That would be a prosperous year for you. And we are here, everybody on the call here, we are here to help you to make that as successful as possibly can be. So bye for now, and best to all of you.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye.